Thanks so much for staying with us for part 3 of our 3-part interview with Dr. Frank Sanchez, the newest president at Rhode Island College. And here we really get to the heart of the story for RNN. And that is, with all these improvements in education, with all these physical improvements, how does that get these kids ready for the new green economy? How does it deliver jobs? How does it deliver a return for them? How can Rhode Island College, in fact, be not just a school, but an economic engine for the state? And in essence, what ultimately does that mean to the 12,000 students? This and much more is coming up in our final segment. As you think about that strategic plan, what are the greatest hurdles, challenges? What are the things that could potentially keep you from exercising that?
That's a great question. I think whenever the nature of change, and I try to substitute change with advancement or evolution. We're an institution that is evolving to become more efficient, more effective. But the nature of evolution is disruption. And I think that's the most difficult. It's change management. It's evolution management. How do we guide a culture, a community, a faculty, of staff, of students, of state officials that believe a higher education institution should run a certain way, and kind of debunk that a little bit and say, well, there's some things we should be doing, but frankly, the future is calling us to do things in a different way. I think that's probably the most difficult work ahead of us, is the disruptive nature of change, and the disruptive nature of becoming more efficient, more effective, more impactful, because you have to measure that. And just by the very nature of doing that and raising that standard, it suggests we're not meeting the standard, which is hard for people to accept.
And we find the same thing. How do you ultimately change human behavior? From simple clipping off a light switch, to not opening a window and running heat, to thinking about waste, to plugging in to an EV, to being part of a community.
Yeah.
That is an unbelievable challenge, but it's a necessary evolution.
No question. Well, I think there's 2 approaches that I think about, and I've seen them both work. One, I think, more effective than the other. Certainly, you can create incentives and say, hey, if you do this, then, the School of Arts and Sciences, if we can see savings, we'll add this to your budget. But, and that can curb behavior. But I think creating a compelling reason why people should do it. If you can change the value people have about sustainability, then it becomes part of a way of living. And it isn't just, well, I'm just going to do this because I'm at Rick. I'm going to do this in my own home. I'm going to do this wherever I go, turn off the lights, or, don't run the water while you're brushing your teeth, or, you can go down the list. But it's a way of living. And if you can create that compelling reason that for people to kind of have a value within. You can always teach how to do things. It's hard to teach value.
It's hard to teach passion. And it's like every organization needs leaders with passion that are absolutely committed and are completely transparent about it, right? They are there to help build a more sustainable world. So I think about how you're going to reshape, change things, tweak things, and certainly guide into the future. In the short time that you have been here, how have you changed? And do you think you need to continue to evolve to be a good leader?
Oh, I'll answer the second part first. Okay. There's no question I have to continue to evolve and adapt for higher education institutions to be their very best. They have to have built-in mechanisms for constant evolution and constant change. Because the moment you're meeting the standard has already moved. The dial is already moved. And so you have to be nimble. You have to change with the environment. You have to be able to be engaged with the environment to be your most effective. So being a leader in that environment, I have to constantly be educated, train, and develop. How have I changed since I've been here? I think, you know, I have become much more, I think, patient to some degree of the work that's ahead of us. You know, for a long time I was administrator, this needs to happen right now. Even as a student who protested against the college administration, saying, well, why aren't you doing these things, and wanting the change to happen right now. I think being in this role here and getting to know the people of Rhode Island and getting to know the people who work here at Rhode Island College, you have people that are deeply committed to this institution, that care so much about this institution, that I've heard that clearly, and I want to bring them along and help them feel like they're a part of the future of the institution. Sometimes when people want to see change or create a new standard, they forget about the people that have to help them get there. They say, well, either you get on board or you know what, you're off the bus. And I think what I've learned here is people have already demonstrated they care about this institution. They want to be part of the future. They want to feel valued, and they want to be given the tools to be part of its future. They're energized, they're enthusiastic. Again, they have the value, and you can't teach that.
But
you can
the trick is, though, Mr. President, how do you how do you keep that team together, right?
You
what
invest,
are the things that
you invest in the
keep them
community
and focused on those collective
for
goals?
decades, this college has had a sense of family, and you'll hear that from alumni. You'll hear that from people, from faculty. It is not uncommon to have faculty that have worked 30, 35, 40, 45, and not uncommon at all.
And some unbelievable dedication from graduates, right?
Oh, phenomenal.
Amazing.
But individuals that have given their entire career to this institution. And so how you do that is you reinvest in this sense of community, this sense of belonging, this sense of family, because that creates a sense of ownership. And then that's where, because people already want to be a part of it, if you can help bring them along of where the institution is going, and it's compelling, and that's our job. We can't just say, well, we're doing this because we said so. We have to do it in a way that's compelling, that makes sense for
and
the
that
future.
helps them grow personally.
That
right?
helps them grow personally, but it makes sense for the future evolution of the college to strengthen its position in the state and in the region, to be that leader as a public higher education institution, to be that leader. Who doesn't want to be with a leading institution?
Absolutely. And it's not easy with a state institution. It can be obviously very bureaucratic. There's a lot of reporting.
Oh, there's no bureaucracy.
It's not. Rhode Island, for our small size sometimes.
No, there is.
It's hard to be that really creative, step out, maybe take a chance a little bit. But that's the culture, right, that you have got to make them believe exists here.
Well, I'm not sure. I think they already believe it. I think I have a role to pointing it out. I think I have a role of investing in it and valuing it.
Advocating?
Advocating for it, championing that notion. But I think it's always been there. I think that's one of and it comes out in the strategic plan. That's one of the strengths of this institution.
Yeah, and I love what you said about family, and that harkens back to us. It's not a company, it's a family, and that brings a lot of elements together that can be so key to continuity. We've been working here at RNN with Rhode Island College for a number of years now. Mm-hmm. We've really enjoyed a great relationship with all of your folks, and certainly with Jim Murphy, Sustainability Director, who's co-hosted a lot of shows. As you think about that partnership with RNN, how does it help Rhode Island College brand to talk about green, to think and to dream about sustainability?
So I think there's some very specific ways RNN and this forum can help communicate. One, and it's true generally about Rhode Island College, we have to do a better job telling our story. I mean, here, I shared a little bit about how we have a leading nursing program, our accounting program, soon to be School of Business, the largest provider of teacher education. We're doing phenomenal things from the quality of the academic offerings. But we need help telling our story of what we're doing in the area of sustainability. I mean, look at just the things we talked about today. One of 20 institutions in the entire nation that offer a LEED Lab course certification. One of 20 higher education institutions. One of 9 higher education institutions in the country that was recognized in the 2017 U.S. Department of Education Green School Sustainability Award. The only higher education institution in the country working on this Omni LED technology and looking at more sustainable ways of lighting on
with
college
a
campus.
nice international feel to that, right?
The company from Portugal, and so we're looking at the global, you know, who, again, back to who are the best people nationally and globally doing this work. And we found a company in Portugal that's really leading on the cutting edge of this. Well, let's partner with them and see how we can make it happen.
And you were probably the first in Rhode Island to bring it here, potentially that technology.
My understanding in higher ed, we're the first in the country of a higher education institution to bring this technology.
So step out, take a little bit of a risk, right?
So where RNN can help is to help share that story. Let's talk about of your viewing audience, your international viewing. Are there other partners that want to be part of a leading public college in this country who's taking some real leadership role in the sustainability front and help us build on that? Let's help build that brain trust, that think tank to see how's this going to evolve down the road? What can we do better in the classroom? What can we do better in partnerships? How should we be thinking about not just sustainability, but resiliency going forward? I know there's been conversations about a sustainability center. You know, what if we were one of the first higher education institutions to create a resiliency center with the kind of theoretical constructs of sustainability and the practices of sustainability, but really preparing that next generation workforce who are much more engaged on issues of emotional intelligence and empathy and thinking about communities broadly. That could be real exciting work going forward. And so I think the work that you're doing in RNN and how it can help us is helping us to tell that story and where we're headed.
And build that green, and as you said, that story, that backstory and that future story into your branding. So my last question, and you've set it up beautifully, because I think very globally, and I think we're very codependent, and I think that we need to share expertise, best practice, leaders around the world. Then as you think about the leaders of tomorrow that are here at Rhode Island College, do you think, A, they will be better able to bring social and economic equity around the world?
Without question. Without question.
Why is that?
Well, one, both from a technical side, they're going to be better educated than the generation before them. Their sophistication of understanding sustainability and resiliency is going to be at another level. And at Rhode Island College in particular, if you get a student who comes in as a freshman who has an inkling about it, they're going to be able to walk away with some real skills. But
4 years later.
4 years later. But then you couple that with this world now of social media. And today, I mean, you have the opportunity in a very short period of time to get some work or an example of this great work, and you get that trending. You have something like that go viral. You have the opportunity to hit millions and frankly billions of people in a fraction of the time it would have a generation ago.
Create a tsunami all of a sudden.
A tsunami of conversation, of best practices, of compelling ideas, of new technologies. Our graduates will be part of that world. And it's going to change clearly in the next 3 to 4 years.
And so
when they
their
graduate.
influence will be that much more significant and much quicker around the world then?
I don't think it's necessarily their influence. The opportunity to influence will be far greater.
And is that really, should it be a core value, a core goal of education, that these are the leaders of tomorrow that can potentially help bring social and economic equity
I think it should be, and we're taking steps at Rhode Island College to make it part of that core. A great case in point is every single one of our freshmen, they go through a freshman seminar. So we said, you know, part of that foundational curriculum, I mean, it's by different discipline and majors, but part of that core curriculum, there should be an element that every student walking out of RIC after 3 or 4 years should have a basic understanding and foundation of sustainability issues, how it generally works, the science behind that, and some conversation about resiliency, empathy and compassion, respect for others.
And a true understanding of being part of one ecosystem, right?
No, that's right.
And a small part.
And we have the opportunity at RIC to ensure every freshman, they receive that.
So, President Sanchez, kind of really stepping out of the box. You can be as creative as you want to be. 3 things that you would love to potentially do here at Rhode Island College around sustainability, all of whom might be really groundbreaking.
Sure. So, gosh, that's kind of a broad question. So, one thing I would hope in the next couple of years that we can ensure that every single student that graduates from RIC, they have some foundational knowledge about sustainability. And I think that's doable. We have some mechanisms in place, a first-year seminar, and some things that, at minimum, they're going to get exposed. And they're going to understand the potential applications of whatever industry or whatever major they're in. They're going to understand what the potential implications are. So that would be one. I think in alignment with being a critical engine for economic development for the state, I think it'd be wonderful to work with our Secretary of Commerce to say, you know, of new companies coming in, of existing companies, could we provide certification training and education of them, or to say, for you to come to Rhode Island, there's this sustainability, you know, we have certified individuals that can provide guidance on how to make your companies more sustainable because you're coming to Rhode Island and because we value.
You help recruit, you help land the deal.
Right. We help.
Ready-made.
It's a value add.
Yeah.
It'd be a value add to companies coming in. Plus, it would help them embrace our values, I think, as a state of being a sustainable state.
And cool if it was in, I don't know, smart city technology, right? Clean energy, clean tech. How cool would some of those certifications be?
That'd be great.
One more.
I think the food security it's a global issue, frankly. And if you can make that work in a community like Providence, maybe North Providence, and have a higher education institution help lead that to ensure that no one has food insecurities. You know, when I was in New York City, we piloted a partnership with the Food Bank of New York City. We saw research across New York City, you know, 8.5 million people, and saw where the pockets of the highest food insecurity was across the system. Then we overlaid our 24 colleges over that map, and what we found was a number of our colleges were right smack in the middle of the highest food insecurity needs. And so we worked with Food Bank of New York City, and we quadrupled the number of meals and pounds of foods given to our students and their families from those. You know, we brought in, we tripled the number of food banks across our schools and institutions. From a macro level, like a city of New York City, what could that look like in a place like Providence?
Or even a small state like Rhode Island.
Or a small state like Rhode Island. And through a collective impact approach, bringing government and industry and higher ed together, is that doable? And I'd say it is. It would be exciting to think in the next 3 to 5 years we're actually addressing food insecurity in a real measurable way.
What a project for the school, and you think it touches food waste. It touches community gardens, urban gardening, right?
Yeah.
Urban centers of agriculture, education around how food is grown and consumed, how our overall health changes. So it would be a phenomenal project. We're there. We'll help.
Wonderful.
Good to see you.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I want you to go back to the very beginning of this story, of this interview. 12,000 students, a budget of $190 million. That's a lot to take care of. That is a lot for Dr. Sanchez to deal with day to day. Yet, for him, that's not enough. He is focused on building here in Providence, Rhode Island, at Rhode Island College, a big, broad, sustainable future. Well, what does that mean to us? That means we, too, cannot get bogged down in the day-to-day. We cannot say we are too busy with the mundane. We, too, must think big. We, too, must be thinking about and helping the next generation get to that level which we may not get to, but with our help, they will get to. At the end of the day, what he inspires in me is to dream, is to think big, is to care, is to not be afraid to come a long way, to take risk, and come to a new place and be a true leader, innovator, and to help Rhode Island, the United States, and the world come to a better place. I'm Peter Arpin for RNN. Thank you so much for being with us during this last 3 segments.